जिंदा जला दिया, कटा दिया, गिरा दिया, सब करा दिया. मैं क्या बचा है?
बहुत कुछ बचा था.
Torture. Let me just tell you, he's in love with you more than any of us now, because you've spoken absolute his words, and he's like.
No, I'm so glad that you're asking these questions because nobody talks about these things, right?
Listen,
Really
you all
echoed my
should
words.
really get to
Yeah.
have a
Exchange
cup of
numbers,
coffee.
Are you free for dinner?
And yeah, listen, can you just do some more interviews with us?
Yeah,
I know,
sure.
that's so nice.
It's very insightful and it's very
Absolutely,
different as a
yeah.
concept.
I have said it so many times. What is even meant by a woman-oriented film? To begin with, it's wrong English.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Well, Chhorii ensured that we have sleepless nights for weeks and months after it released, and the makers were so happy to do that to us that they are back with Chhorii 2. I have the team here with us. Thank you and welcome to Hindustan Times, everyone. I
Thank
gotta
you.
say the trailer is out and it's already making waves. It's only been a few hours, but Vishal, I want to ask you that when I saw the first film, it felt like a complete self-contained arc.
Right.
So where did the idea for Chhorii 2 come? How organic did it have to be for you to make another? Because I know part of it is that the first film was received well and was successful, so you
Right.
are compelled to tell another story, but you can't do it till it feels organic, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So sometime back, Vikram sir had said that the females in the film have just reached their childhood. There's lots more
Right.
to tell, right? Because this film is not just about on the face horror.
Right.
It digs much deeper. So we have just scratched the surface, is what I would say. So organically, it led to something which is even more evil and even more monstrous in our society. And the story started developing from there. And we already have a world which exists because it's the same world which
Right.
we all live in,
Yeah.
right? So it's nothing out in space. It's just here, right in front of us, just told a little differently. So it organically came in, and then we all set. And then, of course, as Vikram sir said, the success of the first one helps us economically in business. He is the better person to answer that. But then when we started writing the film, this really emerged into some kind of a beast. And I was scared whether my producer what will he say? But he was more than happy to make it with the right soul, probably even make it more darker. And then we set out on the journey, and then it all happened.
Nushrratt, I'm gonna ask you, is Sakshi the most unfortunate woman on the planet? Because to get caught up in something once is misfortune, but twice...
It's just irresponsible.
Yeah, I know. Fool me once, shame on me. What is
Your
happening?
I don't know. I really don't know. Actually, when we were promoting Chhorii 1, I believe we were on a flight going to Goa. We
Yeah.
were doing the launch at IFFI. And that's the first time I think Vikram sir had talked to Vishal sir about, do you have an idea? Do we have a germ for 2? And he was in the flight with me and he was telling me, this is 2021.
Yeah,
November.
So
November.
since then, till we got onto set of 2020, I don't know which year for Chhorii 2,
23, yeah.
I was stressed. I said, sir, इस बार क्या कराओगे? मेरे को जिंदा जला दिया, कटा दिया, गिरा दिया, सब करा दिया. मैं क्या बचा है?
बहुत कुछ बचा था.
Torture. And then I read Chhorii 2 and I'm like, stop it, guys. Really stop it. Really. So yeah, I don't think she's the most unfortunate person on the planet. I think I am the most fortunate person on the planet that I got to do this twice. And I got to do this very organically, because when you do watch the film, I think I will call you and ask you, what did you feel? Because that is something 1, 2, 3, and I'm guessing even her as like an actor, we are all aligned to, is the story has to really feel like it came from the truest form
Right.
of it wanting to be told.
Yeah.
Not from a place where करते हैं ना part 2.
Yeah.
वो greed नहीं है. I think हम में से किसी को वो greed नहीं है. And when you have creative people who align for the right reasons and right intentions, picture पे और बनती है.
Right.
So we are proud of it. I think we've invested 2-3 years of our lives, all of us. We've given it all, and yeah, then you can feel all over it again for Sakshi. ठीक है बेटा, और कर ले तू, और रो ले, कोई ना.
Any ideas for part 3 already on what she has to go through?
I'm not looking there.
He's
I'm
nodding.
not looking
He's
there.
nodding.
I'm not taking a flight with him.
Devilish smile and he's nodding. So
Those 2 hours on a flight, no, he's not getting with me.
So I got to ask you, so you have consciously decided to do stuff that Inaya can't watch for another 10 years. Between Hush Hush and this, it's like till she's 17, 16, she's not watching any of it, right?
That's a good one. She's so scared of watching any kind of conflict. She's only 7. So right now, even if I tell her, watch Moana, she'll be like, oh, I don't know, I can't do that. And not the lava monster part. She's scared where the father gets angry with the daughter.
Oh my God.
So I have told her that I'm playing an evil character. She understands the concept of evil. She was very intrigued as to whether I stay evil and, whether there's some kind of redemption. Do you become good? So I was like, you're not going to be able to see this film because it's an adult film. And she was like, great, that's fine.
Yeah.
But what was more difficult for me is, of course, we were shooting in a particularly evil look for long hours and I couldn't be there for bedtime. So normally when I'm not there for bedtime, I FaceTime her.
Oh, you can't, but with
this
that
time I did not want to FaceTime her at all. So sometimes she would FaceTime me and I would cut it and do an audio call. She's like, why can't I see you? And I'm like, trust me. Especially at bedtime.
Especially at bedtime, you don't want to.
Night, Naya. She'd be like,
you don't want to give that trauma to her at 7.
No, and neither did Kunal want to talk to me. Yeah. And I was like, you can at least answer my call. He's like, no, thanks. You call me after 2 months.
So there was no FaceTime happening.
There was no FaceTime. It was fine.
But as an actor, how delicious was it to play such an antagonist,
so
right?
much fun. For me as an actor, it's an audiovisual form, but so much of it is like, how you present this character.
Right.
And it's presented beautifully, and by that it may not be the most aesthetically pleasing form, but in a way it's very attractive. You're drawn to looking at that image. And definitely that sort of greedy actor in me wanted to sink my teeth into this. And I have been offered these sort of very dignified roles in the past. And there's a lot of dignity to Dasima as well, certainly. But they've been very vanilla and girl next door and quote unquote good. And this is far from that and very out of my comfort zone, physically as well as emotionally, as well as ethically. The things that she does haven't really gone there.
But that's the challenge. That's the fun of it.
That's the challenge.
And as horror fans, I can tell you, it is attractive and good to look at.
Isn't
when you
it?
create a monster,
That's so nice.
if you are into horror, you love how scary or fiendish or ugly even, if I may say so, it looks, because that's the beauty of it.
Yes.
Thank you.
To
Thank
bring
you for
that
saying
out
that.
is what's wonderful. I'm going to come to you, sir, is that franchisee is a very new thing in India. I mean, in the West, it started like 50, 60 years ago with Superman, Star Wars and everything, or Indiana Jones. In India, probably 15, 20 years ago at the most. And horror is something that has led the way. I mean, there are more horror franchises in India than anything else. Even like there's the odd rom-com, there's the odd superhero film. What do you think? Of course, it's new to you as well as a Bendancia. But what do you think is so natural to horror in India? Because that genre was away from Hindi cinema for a long time, and now it's just everywhere. In part 2, part 3, what is clicking here?
There's an inherent uniqueness to the genre. There's also multiple layers that you can choose to unravel as you extend the story,
Right.
especially in films. And that lends itself very easily and very seamlessly to multiple editions. The important thing, and you very rightly pick out horror as a genre that lends itself better to franchises globally as well, by the way.
Of course, yeah.
And one of the earliest examples of global franchises is actually horror, even before superheroes.
Night of the Living Dead and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The thing that goes in the favor of horror is that the arc can be stretched. It's not dependent on one particular kind of fear that, for example, in Chhorii 2, we've continued a certain part of the arc, but then introduced a whole new dimension, which not just enhances the world, but also pulls in the audience towards this elevated scare. So that lends itself very beautifully to creating a long-standing franchise. And then the customer side of the advantage is that horror has loyalists.
Yes.
So there could be big films releasing around a horror film. There could be other distractions, but there is a loyal cohort of horror fans that will keep everything aside and go and consume that. And that kind of unwavering loyalty, unflinching desire to consume this genre is really specific only to this, to horror, to scary. That gives it an added edge over lots of other forms of storytelling.
Hoping that happens for this film.
Likewise, absolutely.
Vishal, I have to, it's a two-pronged question. First is, of course, that I like that Chhorii and Chhorii 2, the horror here is just not the metaphysical and supernatural evil. It is a social evil as well.
Right.
You are merging that with the story, and that makes it scarier because it is set in our world and not any fantasy.
Right.
And the second is that Indian horror for the longest time was besotted with jump scares.
Right.
If it's a 120-minute film, you'll have 20 jump scares, and by the climax of it, the tension is released. As opposed to the Western idea of build it up and then destroy the audience in the last 15 minutes.
Right.
You adhere to that philosophy.
Let me just tell you, he's in love with you more than any of us now. Because you've spoken absolute his words and his like...
No, I'm so glad that you are asking these questions because nobody talks about these things, right? This is such an untapped genre in this country. Nobody talks about the art and craft and the making of it, because we are just here to find cheap thrills.
It is relegated to a lower form as opposed to something.
And that is why we have not done good horror in a very long time.
Lowering of it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that is partly because in the 90s and 2000s, horror was relegated to what Ramses were making. But even that was art.
Correct.
Not many people get it.
The early Ramses definitely was art.
I couldn't sleep for months after
even
watching Veerana.
As a child would watch that. That was my horror.
Veerana was my introduction to Ramses. I was 7. I don't know why my parents allowed me to watch it. But till 9, I was not sleeping alone. I was like, not happening anymore. Can you imagine Inaya watching it today?
Not at all.
So that's what. So sorry, coming back to the question.
I always believed that jump scare is an interesting tool, but it is not. I mean, for me, creeps and an eerie atmosphere works much more better. I remember watching an early film in my childhood, which was Nightmare on Elm Street, right? And Freddy stayed with me for like years after that. Every time when I used to sleep, I used to be like, oh God, I don't want Freddy in my nightmares. I want to wake up tomorrow morning, right? So I think slow burn always has a longer shelf life than a jump scare. Jump scare is like, it's like a dessert. You eat once and then next time you know what's coming, right? Next time when you watch a film, there's going to be jump scare over. You're already ready for it. But that creepiness always gets you. Like one of my most interesting films, The Descent, if you have seen, I cannot watch it. Like I've watched it hundreds sometimes, but every time I'm equally scared. It doesn't go down even one level, right? So I think I'm more a fan of the slow burn, the more creepy, eerie atmosphere, and the mindset of the people. The way the people think, the characters think, that is more evil, because I feel humans are more evil than spirits, right? That is the theory which I really apply in telling my stories, because that's what we see around us, right? We have not seen spirits, but we have seen humans, right?
Of course.
So it's the idea is to tell human stories.
And then you have to dilute that, because what is happening in the real world is just too dark.
Exactly. See, I just said that sometime back, and you have really echoed my words.
You all should really get to have
Exchange
a cup of coffee.
Are you free for dinner?
And listen, can you just do some more interviews with us?
Sure.
So nice.
It's very insightful and it's very
Absolutely,
different as a concept.
we are catching up for sure.
Definitely. But I have to take something from what you said, that the reality is so scary, and what can be scarier and marginalizing for a woman than oppression? Because that is what is so real world, and you've seen that in your lives, and she's already smiling. You've seen that in your work, you've seen that in the real world, that your opinion, the words that you want to say, your entire existence is sidelined just because of who you are. And that is so real. Nushrratt, you had to add to something with that, right?
Not add to something. I think I can sit here all day and give you a lot of conversations. But, I've said this before also. I can't even pick up the big issues. Because those two are there. Those are very predominantly underlined there and existing. The ones that bug me are the ones that we normalize.
Right.
There's also issues. But what we have done is, we've made it okay to say that to a girl, or to treat her that way. Or to say, oh, you might not understand this, or you might not get this. Or wait, your opinion doesn't matter on this because...
It's a man's thing. You don't get it, right?
And I don't just blame people who say that. I think I blame the whole working of society. Because चलो बोलने वाले 5 हैं, but उनको मानने वाले तो 500 है ना?
Right.
एक इंसान उठ के बोलो नहीं हमें नहीं मानना ये, तो मैं समझूं, तो मैं बोलूं हाँ भाई चलो वी आर रियली चेंजिंग. तो मेरे लिए ना वो एवरीडे के जो प्रॉब्लम है, जो एकदम कैजुअल हो गए हैं, लाइक हैव यू लाइक जोक्स ऑन सर्टेन थिंग्स आर वेरी कैजुअल नाउ. व्हाई नॉट? वी कैन डेफिनेटली डू दिस. एंड आई एम लाइक नो ब्रो, यू कांट. But can someone say you can't?
And there's a flip side to it, that when someone calls it out, they say, but it's just a joke, you're overreacting.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. It's become so, I don't have a choice but to take it. That I feel is the new oppression, if there is something like that, because old practices को voice करने के लिए आंदोलन है, मोर्चे हैं, issues raise हुए, इन वालों को तो मैं बोल भी नहीं सकती कि ये problem है. You know, I can't even voice it.
Right.
So I'm further oppressed.
And in this field, Soha, and you can probably answer this best, is it also because you're a heroine, quote unquote, and a good-looking woman that, you know, oh, no, you sit this one out, because the perception is that she would not be an expert in something beyond what she does. Does that, you face that, right?
I mean, I feel like today people say misogyny and they think that that's like hatred of women. Actually, it's something far more insidious. It's far more like layered. It's just like people who expect women to behave in a certain way. And when you don't behave in that certain way, then it's not comfortable for people. So if as you said, like if small things, if you say that's not funny, or, you know, I don't appreciate that comment, or you know, you can't treat me like that, then you become a problem for people. Then people don't want to work with you because, you know, she's a bit tough to work with. She's difficult to work with. So in that personality type of how you're expected to behave is being challenged more and more today. And I think that some people are having trouble adjusting to that.
Yeah.
I know that my life has been incredibly privileged.
Right.
The family that I belong to, the education that I've had, my friends and the circle that I belong to, the voices that I hear are all uplifting and empowering. But yet, you understand, when you do a film like Chhorii, you are speaking for all the women. You are fighting a battle. You are amplifying a voice because you have a position in society where you can do that. You have access to media, you have access to entertainment. You're being given this incredible platform where people can, that resonates with people. So even though I may not have that problem, like you said, I'm actually not surrounded by those voices. Even the men and the women in my life are empowering. But I can still speak, even though it doesn't affect me. I must still speak for those who do not have a voice.
Right. Nushrratt, you have to add something to that?
I said like a lot, but but I think I do things in my own way, like small bits where someone says, "नहीं ये आप मत करो, ये लड़कियां नहीं करती." I will actually get up and say, "तो अभी मैं ही करूँगा." मैं कहा, मेरे को रोक के दिखा दे तू.
अब तो जिद है.
अब तो जिद है. So some places I can do that, but yeah, there are some places I can't. Like if I'm being told, you know, you can't ask this question, or we don't have an answer for this question, or this is not your place. Most of the times, I think it's also the nature of the work, and I'll be very honest and say that to you. I have to shut up.
Right.
Because not that she's being troublesome or problematic, it's almost, I don't even mean, I mean even in a casual friend setup, it's almost like, oh my God, she has so many issues. Why can't you just be normal about life and be like,
You're like, you don't want that energy anymore.
yeah, I said, okay, so I have to pretend like I'm okay with this for me to coexist in your world.
It's a task.
Yeah, it's a task.
I'm going to wrap it up with one question to you, sir. That's just, do you have a problem with the term women-oriented films, female-led films? Because it's a tag, and I understand why it's a tag, because it's a minority. Those films are very few. So you sometimes have to specify. But by specifying, are you otherizing them?
You will, in public domain, find at least a dozen of my interviews in which I have said I absolutely dislike the calling out of films that are led by women, or
you sound like a robot
created
right
by
now.
women, because it's so practiced.
I have said this so many times.
You know, I have said it so many times. What is even meant by a woman-oriented film? To begin with, it's wrong English.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
At least it's a female-led film is factually correct.
It's factually correct, right? Because there's a central character who happens to be a female. If the central character was a humanoid, a robo, you would say a robo-led film. That's factually correct. I have heard words like, because of my filmography, which features so much work that has been female first, as I would term it, that distinction needs to be made, because people need to realize that here is a film or a show that's done differently. Women-centric, women-oriented. What does this even mean? We don't greenlight stories like that. Writers and directors don't write stories saying that we are going to do this because we are putting a character who happens to be female in the lead. That's not how it gets done. And I think it is self-defeating to label anything in this manner. It happened when I was running Viacom 18 Motion Pictures and we did Kahani. This entire labeling started from there, and you know, there was a series of films there, including Queen,
Queen
and then everything that we've done at Abundancia. I absolutely dislike this labeling. It means nothing. I've never gone out and done a Shakuntala Devi saying, oh, this is Shakuntala Devi. There was a point in time, including Chhorii, when our filmography not only had films and stories led by women, but they were also title roles.
Yeah,
Shakuntala Devi, Durgamati, Sherni, Chhorii, Sukhi. Then there was work
Directed by
like
women.
Jalsa.
Directed by women,
We
yes.
had 6 women directors at one point in time. And again, there were people asking me questions like, you are working with so many women directors. And I was like, it did not occur to me that I went out looking for a woman director. You know, that's not how
That's the
this gets
tag, that's-
done.
Because no one has a man director.
Sudha Kongara is a great director.
Yeah.
Vishal Furia and Suresh Triveni have some of the
director.
best gaze on storytelling that
Right.
features women in the lead than I have had most women directors have. Now, that doesn't make them any different than this.
Right.
So, I have strong opinions on the subject, and I put my money where my mouth is on this one. So, I can tell you this labeling needs to end. This is discriminatory.
Yes.
And the ones who are actually making films, and I'm proud to say Abundancia is leading the way in our own way on that. We don't think of it like
Yeah.
that.
I would like to add a little
Yeah,
bit
please.
to what Sir said. I completely agree with what he's saying, and which is why we align on this film and what it has to do. But this labeling is complete. Probably it is doing more harm than good.
Yeah.
Right, because
For
it's
because
creating-
then it is alienating
Yeah,
the male audience,
Yes,
right?
male
So then who
audience.
are you making the films for, right?
Just before they drag me away, one final question to you is that, do you believe that, as you were talking about 5 minutes earlier, that horror in Indian cinema and Hindi cinema more hasn't been done justice to?
Absolutely. I think we have hardly even scraped the surface, right? We have so much more to tell in terms of even the folklore, the mythology, all of that. When we speak of traditional horror, and then social evils too, we have abundance, and now the technical evils are going to come. I'm like, there's lots, and India is a very different country. It is a very different diaspora, right, compared to the global diaspora.
yeah.
We think differently. We are such a divided and united country both at the same time. So there's lots more. We have hardly done anything.
Hoping that Chhorii 2 can start some.
I really
conversation on
hope
that
so.
path.
I really hope people start seeing the beauty of the genre as we are
Yes,
speaking,
yes,
right?
yes,
and then start exploring it even more.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
time.
But thank you,
and
thank
all the
you.
best for Chhorii 2, which comes out on Amazon Prime Video on April 11th.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abhimanyu. That was lovely.
Yeah, it was a damn good conversation.
Lovely, yeah.